For something new at Ontario Sheep Farmers.
One event we would really like to feature is Field Day 2025. That's going to be hosted by Ontario sheep farmers and large flock operators. This is an event that's going to be open to commercial sheep farmers and those aspiring to be. It will be held on July 24th at Orono Fairgrounds. Stay tuned for more details on that and pop back into ontariosheep.org/events to see the latest updates for that event.
Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Flock Talk. I'm Erin Morgan.
And I'm Walker Ball, and we work for the members of the Ontario Sheep Farmers.
Today we're joined by Mike Brine from Trillium Mutual Insurance Company. Specializing in farm and rural lifestyle insurance, Trillium Mutual offers a range of products including farm, rural lifestyle, commercial, personal, auto, residential, and cyber insurance. Their mission is to protect and enhance farm and community lifestyles throughout rural Ontario. Welcome, Mike.
It's great to be here.
Ooh, welcome. Mike, to kick things off, could you share a bit about your background and how you joined Trillium Mutual?
Sure. I grew up on a farm outside St. Mary's, started as a dairy farm. But when I was 4, my parents sold the dairy cattle and started up a hog operation. So effectively, I grew up on a hog farm. I did 4 years of university at University of Guelph with a crop science degree when I finished up. And then I came back to farm for about 8 years. We had a little bit of a disease problem in the barns. We made the decision to shut those down and approximately in 93. And I sold feed, or as my dad said, went and got my first real job that I had something to do. I stayed there for, again, about 8 years, and then I worked for the government. I was part of the administration for the CASE program, which then became the Agri-Stability program. So I worked for both OMAF for a little while, and then I worked for Agricor. When I left there, I came to work for Trillium Mutual. So it's been a bit of a ride. It's been a lot of fun. I started with Trillium in about 2011, and I've been having a lot of fun ever since.
Fantastic. So tell us about Trillium Mutual. Farm mutual insurance has a long history in Ontario, and mutuals are different from large for-profit insurance companies. Can you tell us more about the farm mutual insurance tradition in Ontario, how this cooperative model benefits policyholders and the community?
Sure. Trillium Mutual is an amalgamation between two of our parent companies, Alma Mutual and Formosa Mutual. And if you add up the years, we've been in business for over 140 years as a mutual, between first of Formosa and Alma and then as Trillium. And the mutuals were originally formed as farmers got together to look for a way to protect themselves, primarily against fire. And they pooled resources to create the mutuals. Policies were quite a bit different than what we see today. But over the years, they have developed into the mutual system in Ontario has developed into one of the major players in farm insurance in Ontario. And as you mentioned in the intro, we not only cover farm insurance, we also do personal lines, that's houses, auto. We also do some commercial. There's a bit of cyber that gets mixed into the farm and the commercial as well. As to the benefits, well, the people that have the policies own the company. Our policy holders are our owners. Then when it comes around to our annual meeting, you have your say in what you think should happen to the company. You've got your opportunity to vote directors in and to ask questions. And of course, we always try to remember whatever we're doing that our policyholders are more than just policyholders and people that provide us with income. They also are our owners, and we're in business to look after them. One of the major differences that you'll find between us and the stock companies is we're not in it for a profit. We don't answer to our shareholders that we have to have a profit. Now, obviously, we have to do a little bit better than just break even. We have to build our surplus and all of that sort of thing. But the primary goal is not to come up with with extra dollars for our shareholders. It's to provide coverage for our owners and policyholders.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I hadn't realized that before I started researching for the podcast, but yeah, it sounds like there's that extra personal touch, which I think makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and at Trillium, we pride ourselves on our claims service. Like ultimately, when it comes down to it, you buy a policy, you've bought a piece of paper, and it's a contract. But what it really is, it's the promise. It's the promise that when things go bad, somebody's going to be there to help you pick up the pieces. Now, there are limits to what we can do. We provide capital and cash for people to be able to pay to put buildings back that have burnt. We pay for liability claims and that sort of thing too. But ultimately, we try to keep our customer, who are our owners, at the front of everything that we do.
Yeah. So what insurance solutions do you provide to farmers and what area of the province do you cover?
Well, I'll start with the last one first because that's easy. We write in all of Ontario, so there's no real limitations. I shouldn't say that. There is one limitation, and that is the Greater Toronto Area. We are not an urban insurer. We're not looking to insure buildings in the large urban centers. There's lots of insurers that do a really good job there. Our niche is rural Ontario, whether that be villages, towns, some small cities as well. We're looking to provide insurance solutions there. The goal was to become the farm insurer of choice in Ontario. And we currently are, we believe, one of the largest insurers in the province of farm operations. We insure property and liability for a lot of the farming communities. So we're looking at buildings, at livestock, at produce. We're looking at your house. We're looking at the income that might be derived from that. If something should happen to your primary method of producing income, there's insurance that you can purchase for that as well. The other half of what we're looking at there is the liability. And I like to talk about the first part of the things that happen to your stuff. And then the other is the things that you do to somebody else's stuff. And that's your liability insurance, where if you are found to be causing injury or property damage, there's liability insurance to pick up on that. And both are really important in the farm space.
Excellent. So, as experts in farm insurance, how do you work with your agricultural clients to determine the level and type of coverage that they need in a way that's different from other types of insurers that aren't so focused on farm clients?
Well, we sell everything pretty much through a broker force. We do have one agency, but the difference between a broker force and an agency, they only provide Trillium insurance. A broker, they provide from multiple markets. So they have options, which is really useful when we come up against things that we don't insure. And they need to have coverage for something that isn't in our wheelhouse, they've usually got another market that can cover either the whole operation or that part of the operation if need be. So we work through a broker force. These are private companies, private businesses that sell our product for us. And one of the things that when I started, my job was to develop a new brand that we had come up with at that time. It's a Real Ontario Farm Insurance brand. The Real Ontario Farm Insurance brand is made up of insurance professionals that just simply are the top class in Ontario. And this is, I talk about our brokers that we have. We have currently 56 brokers that are in the program. They have spent extra time training themselves. They are experts in farm insurance. And we provide them with as much education as we can, as much support as we can. And the other half of that is the people that work within Trillium. We're looking for people that are experts in farm and particularly in farm insurance. And many of our underwriters come from a farming background. So they do understand the difference between the front end and the back end of a cow and what goes in the front and what comes out the back.
Good to
which
know.
is quite important. And we laugh about that, but it is important to have someone that can understand what your business is. You can't insure it if you don't really understand what it is you're insuring.
Absolutely.
What would you say are the biggest risks that farmers have on the farm that can be insured?
Well, I think that if you'd asked me this 10 years ago, I would have told you that fire was our number one risk. It's the number one thing that goes through. But we're starting to see a lot of wind damage and damage from storms that go through. We've had a couple of derechos that have gone through Ontario, and they've done millions and millions of dollars of damage. And we've been really fortunate in our area here, in that as they build from the west to the east, they have got stronger. So we have not been hit as hard by those as Eastern Ontario has been. There has been some very major storms have run through there, and they do a lot of damage. They'll pull roofs off, they'll knock buildings down, trees down on cars, all that sort of thing. But I would say still primarily what we do fire insurance. That's probably the most common. But certainly environmental and weather concerns are getting right up there.
Yeah. When I was looking through the list of the other types of insurance that you have, it piqued my interest that you have cyber insurance. And we're hearing lots about cyber threats, from the agricultural media especially. So how does cyber insurance work?
Well, we've basically got two different types of risk, and I'm going to really simplify this down. The first risk, we are seeing a lot of computerized equipment that's on the internet that is on a farm anymore. Dairy industry is a prime example of that because of the robotics that are used there for milking. But it goes through into some other industries as well, where we are seeing ventilation systems that are computer controlled, and they're online, they're on the internet, so that the farmer has good access to them. And that first type of cyber attack that you would talk about would be to shut down your operation. We just shut down the fans in your barn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We're going to turn it back on. Now you've got an hour to pay us this money on a ransom, or next time we just don't turn it back on again.
Yeah.
That's type of thing that can happen. Or in a dairy operation, we've shut your robotic milkers down, and we're not going to put those back up. We shut your robotic feeders down. We're not going to put those back up until you pay us. So it's kind of a ransom type situation there. The other half is the information that you may collect as a business person. As farmers, we deal with many different vendors, but also different farmers. And we keep a lot of, or can, depending on the operation, keep a lot of personal or business information there, bank account numbers, bank account access, and that sort of thing. And we hear about the privacy breaches all the time with industry, with larger industries, but it can happen on farm too. And so you've got the two different types of insurance that you're really in need of. The one is to protect you and help you get back up. Gives dollars to be able to restore your systems and get back up and running again. And the other one is you've had a privacy breach. Well, now you need to inform everybody that you've had a privacy breach. Well, that costs dollars. You need to plug the leak. That's another thing that costs dollars. And all of that, you can buy cyber insurance that will cover that. We haven't seen as yet a huge number of attacks, although they certainly have happened out there. But I do believe that that's something that's going to be coming, that farmers are going to see that more and more common, that they're going to be under attack. It's big business, right? Like we think of farming as a small operation, but anymore, there's some operations that are huge out there. And they make a very inviting target if somebody is looking for a few dollars. You can't forget the farm activists as well. Somebody who's a human right or a farm animal rights activist. There's another person that could conceivably attack an operation. Some idea there that we're going to attack your operation and make you change your behaviors or pay us money or do something like that. That's all. Those are all things that are risks to the industry there. If you go to business, they've had cyber insurance for a long time.
Right.
Because they've been a target much longer. We're just starting to get into that, dip our toe in it, as you might think, because we haven't seen those huge numbers of attacks. But I believe that they will become as common in the farming industry as they are in business industry, as in regular business.
Wow.
Wow. No, nobody's safe.
No, it's and you have a tendency when you come into the insurance industry to become a bit of a pessimist sometimes. That because we look at all of these different things that we're covering for that could happen.
Right.
I've told people this before. Since I've come into the insurance industry, I'm much better insured, but I'm not happier because you hear about all of this stuff that can happen. And it's like, well, that could happen to me. Well, we may have, 24,000 policies and we get one or two of this particular type and it's drawn to our attention. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm at such a risk for that. Well, we're at a risk, but like it does tend to color your opinion at times too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking too, I mean, I'm just imagining, when someone's going into business and you have to pick a niche, right? So I'm just imagining these hackers like, oh, I'm going to pick farming niche. This one's up and coming,
Yeah, I think that, and there's some truth to that, but there's also truth to the fact that what has really helped in the farming is that nobody's really thought of us as a target yet. If
Right.
that changes, that people see us as a target, see us as an inviting target, then we could have a lot of problems in that area. We do see, I mean, from a business standpoint, we're drilled on different things that can happen, particularly protecting our emails and protecting our company. I don't know that farmers have thought of that as much as they're going to need to in the future.
Yeah.
We're going to see that not only like insurance is one thing to pick up the pieces if something goes wrong, but prevention is going to be another thing that's really going to come to the forefront. Is how do you protect your systems so that you don't end up, so that they'll go to somebody, that's too tough. Let's go on to the next person.
Right. Well, so in the area of proactive risk management, there are tools that you've developed for producers like electrical monitoring systems. Would you mind telling us more about those types of tools?
Well, I'd like to say we've developed them. We haven't. We've heard about them and we've taken advantage of them. There's several systems out there now that are used that they monitor. They talk about monitoring the electrical health of the system. And what they're looking for is they're looking for anomalies or faults within the system. Someplace that you can have a short or you can have a hot spot within there. Someplace that's drawing too much power. And these monitoring systems are being put into barns. Again, this has been available in in the commercial portion for quite a while. But probably we became aware of this maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. And we started talking with a company out of Quebec called PrevTech. And they had a system there that was really good. They could tell if you were having a fault in a breaker or in a motor. They measure the amount of energy that goes in versus the amount that comes back out again. And if there's too much being lost, then it sets off an alarm, and you can track that down and find that. We worked with them on a trial basis for 3 years, where we had a few of our farms that of our owners that got involved in this and installed the units in the barns. And virtually every barn has faults that you find when you put the systems in. It's surprising. You'd think like the old electrical systems, well, they're going to have a problem. But sometimes the new ones do too. If you think of the thousands upon thousands of connections and different units that are in a new operation there, you can have a faulty relay. You can have a couple of connections that just aren't quite tight. And these systems help find that. Well, down the road, those systems could cause a fire. And that's why we got involved. Right now, we're working with several different companies besides PrevTech as well, where we're telling some of our larger risks that they need to put a monitoring system into their barns there. We have seen over the past 5 years, we've seen some very, very large operations that have burnt because of electrical faults, not just ourselves, but throughout the industry there. So anything that we can do to cut down on the number of problems that we see is certainly going to benefit everyone. The fewer of these large risks, the less losses that we sustain, the less losses we sustain. That's going to help keep premiums in line and try and keep them from rising too much.
Yeah, that's a good point, tying it back to premiums that, yeah, you might be paying a bit more money up front, but at the end of the day, you might be saving more in the long run.
Yeah, I think as an industry, we all recognize that this is a major problem. It used to be when I started, you'd get $1 million or $1.5 million loss in a farm. And you know what? That's a pretty big risk. That's a pretty big barn, man. That kind of hurts the bottom line when you see it. But we're seeing losses up $10, $12 million now.
Yikes.
And that's a lot of money. We do protect ourselves through reinsurance, but reinsurers, they are in it to make a profit. So they're going to look at this from a standpoint. If we get too many losses in the industry, they'll start raising their rates. And we see that already. Everything that happens within the industry, in the insurance industry, causes everybody's rates to go up. So whether that's a hurricane in Florida or wildfires out Western Canada through BC and that sort of thing, those hit our reinsurance markets and that causes reinsurance prices to go up. And if they go up, we have to pay more. We're likely going to have to adjust our premiums as well.
Wow. Well, switching gears to a more fun topic.
What? I was having a blast with that one.
My insurance is so high right now, just for average stuff. Well, because I have 2 teenage boys, but
well, that's auto, and that's a different
up.
story altogether. And I caused my parents that headache, and I had a son that went through it as well. And yeah, it's painful while it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. But so Trillium Mutual gives back to the community, and from what I read on your website, you have some pretty great environmental sustainability initiatives as well. So can you give us a highlight or two of what you're doing for the community and for environmental sustainability?
Sure, we'll do a couple of different things. We have a philanthropic arm of our company called the Roots Foundation, and people are able to apply for money for various projects, and we give out to various different subjects that we're interested in. Certainly, one of those is environmental sustainability, and so if somebody has a project, we may be giving money to that. I think the one project that strikes me the most is actually the building. The building that I work out of in Listowel was built in 2010, and it was designed to be a LEEDs building. And your LEEDs buildings are environmentally friendly. Those are buildings that they are made out of materials that can be recycled. They are energy efficient. We didn't get the highest category for it, mostly because they ask that you build near public transit. In Listowel, that's not really an option for us, but it does have a lot of really neat features. Collects rainwater to be used in the toilets, in the washrooms. And I still, the one that gets me every time is you walk into a room and the lights come on, and you don't touch a thing, and you walk out. And 5 minutes later, the lights go out. So nobody's hitting a switch and forgetting to turn the switch on and forgetting to turn the switch off again. It's already looked after, and it's filled with a lot of features from that perspective. We certainly want to encourage the environmental sustainability from a rural standpoint here. We have the most to lose, right? We are out in the middle of some very beautiful country here. I have friends that will visit from other areas, and I live in the country, and they sit on our back deck and they look out and they just say, "Wow, like that's that's an amazing view." And it is like you can see more than a quarter mile, and there's no houses in the view at all. It
Wow.
is. We need to protect that. We need to protect what goes on. We need to be more environmentally sustainable in how we farm. And farmers have done a really good job of changing their practices. The practices that we saw when I was growing up, that very few people are doing that exact same thing anymore. We've changed because we've needed to use less fuel, protect the soil more, protect the water more, use less pesticides. Those things are very important to sustaining what we have in rural Ontario.
Yeah, it's fabulous that you guys are putting that in place and going above and beyond. That's excellent, and I can imagine that it also takes quite a while, quite a bit of effort to put that in place.
It's effort, and you know what? It has to be a conscious decision on the part of us as individuals, but also as a company. It has to be that conscious knowledge that whatever we do, that this should be at the forefront of what we're encouraging. That we want to see sustainable things going on within our community. There, I mean, after all, we live in them too. We live in rural Ontario. It's part of our environment. We certainly want to protect that.
Yeah, that says a lot. That says a lot. So for farmers who want to reach out to you or your agents, where do they find more information?
So if they go on our website, they will be looking for a button on there that says find a broker. And if they click on that and enter in their postal code, it'll come up with a list of brokers that are the closest brokerages that carry our products that are available to them. And that'll give them the contact information. They can talk to those people and say where they came up with the idea, and ask them if they could help them with their insurance needs.
Great. Thank
Amazing.
you.
And that's trilliummutual.com, right?
Trilliummutual.com.
Perfect. And thank you to Trillium Mutual Insurance for sponsoring our upcoming field day in Orono, Ontario on July 24th. And thank you for joining us today, Mike.
I'm looking forward to reading about it. I don't think I'm going to be able to be there this year, although I have been there in the past. But I wish you all wish that you have a great day, a great turnout, maybe a nice sunny day like what we've got today.
Well, thanks very much. And thanks, Mike, for joining us on our podcast today.
It's been my pleasure.
And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of Flock Talk, please subscribe through your podcast app to receive alerts for our future episodes. And please share our podcast with your friends.
For more Ontario Sheep Farmers content, follow us on social media at Ontario Sheep Farmers on Instagram and Facebook, at Ontario Sheep on X, and visit our website at ontariosheep.org.